You're listening to Systemic Error Podcast. The failure was designed.
Insider details what makes Trump's explosive volatility so dangerous, based on an article by Sarah K. Burris. Trump alone is still Trump in charge. The source, briefly. Todd Nichols argues that Trump's isolation is making him more volatile, and that the people around him have been reduced to protecting him from the consequences of his own impulses. The examples he points to are familiar: tariffs that harm Americans, hostility to NATO, the war with Iran, and officials like Todd, Blanche and Vance being forced to defend positions they previously claimed to reject. Power has not disappeared. The central fact here is not Trump's loneliness, it is Trump's power. Isolation does not weaken a strongman in any meaningful democratic sense if the rest of the apparatus still bends to him. When the vice president, cabinet officials, and legal and political hangers-on are all forced to absorb whatever he demands, that is not a leader losing control. That is a system organized around submission. The rebel institutional power remains where it has been, with the president backed by a party and a governing class that have decided obedience is cheaper than resistance. The enablers are the story. Nichols gets closest to the truth when he describes aides and officials who have compromised everything they claim to believe. That is the governing mechanism. The problem is not merely that Trump is detached from reality. It is that an entire elite has accepted the job of translating his impulses into policy and then laundering the result as governance. Todd Blanche is not some accidental bystander protecting the president from himself. That language flatters the surrounding machinery. If you are in the room and your role is to absorb the damage after the decision has already been made, you are not a guardrail. You are part of the wall. This is not misunderstanding. The soft framing in stories like this is that Trump is surrounded by people who have to explain things to him, or that he is isolated from honest counsel. That is too charitable. It turns deliberate political submission into a personality disorder, and it turns enabled harm into confusion. The source itself hints at the deeper structure, a Soviet-style court where subordinates guess what will please a ruler and then rationalize it afterward. That is not chaos. It is a loyalty system. It rewards cowardice, punishes honesty, and produces policy by intimidation. The harm is not incidental. It is the method. Vance and the collapse of principle. J.D. Vance is a useful example because he exposes the fraud inside the America First pose. If you built your politics around opposing foreign wars and then you are forced to defend one, the issue is not that you changed your mind under pressure. The issue is that the ideology was always subordinate to the man. That is what makes these figures so structurally important. They are not moderating Trump. They are proving that no conviction in this coalition survives contact with his ego. The result is not principled disagreement inside a governing party. It is a disciplined regime where yesterday's slogans are disposable and today's line is whatever keeps you inside the circle. The pattern beneath the personality. What this story really reveals is the bankruptcy of elite restraint as a democratic safeguard. A president can become more isolated, more irrational, more openly destructive, and still be carried forward by officials and pundits who insist the problem is tone, temperament, or access to better advice. It is not. The pattern is personalist rule sustained by institutional cowardice. Trump does not need a competent inner circle to govern. He needs a submissive one. And the country pays for the difference between those two things in tariffs, weakened alliances, reckless war-making, and a political class that keeps pretending complicity is something else. You've been listening to Systemic Error. Thanks to Alternate for today's article. With the automated voice of Arctic, thanks for listening.